described as vandalism. The repetitive and aggressive tagging you might see at a bus stop, however, is neither vandalism nor graffiti. To vandalise the bus stop would be to make the bus stop non-functional. That is, a place where you couldn't sit down to wait for the bus. That requires a lot more than a spray can. Tagging isn't graffiti, it's simply writing your name on something, like if you wrote your name on your mate's lunchbox and then said, "It's mine now." The issue of legality is contentious within the world of street art. There is an argument that ideological secrecy and the inaccessibility of illegal graffiti is empowering and subversive. This graffiti on a train, for example. I took this photo while I was at Bordeaux train station in 2012. I like the contradiction between the message and its presence on a train, one would suppose, illegally. Because graffiti exists in everyday life, its meaning may be inaccessible to the outsider, but one doesn't have to go into a museum to view it. One simply has to find it. There is an accidental meeting between the art and the audience. Because this meeting was accidental, there is the immediate effect of disarming an audience. I believe one of street art's great strengths is its power to disarm, and because the audience is disarmed, they are prepared to entertain concepts they wouldn't have engaged with otherwise. Banksy provides some good examples of this kind of work. Banksy, London, 2007. An industrial worker strips a painting similar to a cave painting, featuring primitive beasts and people with bows and arrows. Perhaps Banksy was making a comment on the decade-long wars some city council and governments waged against this more contemporary form of public art. Banksy, Israel, 2007. A little girl wearing a pink dress and white ribbons frisks a heavily armed Israeli soldier against the wall. The wall is incorporated into the art and isn't simply a canvas. The image is playful and disarming. See? I'm going to discuss some recognised examples of work and some works I found. The presence of graffiti is an indication of conflict. The practice of culture jamming, or disrupting corporate and cultural institutions, is an explicit expression of this conflict between the artist and those who control the cityscape. In 2005, a French journalist, Florence Aubenas, was kidnapped while working in Iraq. Fearing the government weren't paying attention, Black Lorat pasted an image of Florence all over Paris. Subsequently, she was released. Roadworth, Asphalt Fetish, Montreal, 2007. Two lines separating lanes merge into a zip. The image turns the road into something being unzipped. A functionalist paint job is transformed into an aesthetic one. Unknown. Pooh Here, Brisbane, 2013. Pooh Here is a playful example of jamming I discovered on my way to lunch one day. A less aggressive intervention into the space of the city is yarn bombing. Knitter Please provides an excellent example of this street art. Knitter Please are a collective begun by Magda Sayegh. Examples of this collective or gang's work could be found at the Opera House in Sydney, a bus in Mexico City, and the Standard in New York. Unknown, Made in New York, 2013. I found this example of yarn bombing in New York on the 25th of September 2013. In Welcome to Australia, Vexter commented on Australia's increasingly severe border protection laws. This work was a part of a fringe festival and exhibited on the door of a commercial shed in Melbourne's Docklands. Vexter said of her work, "A few days before we were to begin painting, I learned that some refugees who had been broken out of a detention centre had turned themselves in because life was too hard for them with no support. The fact that these people had been met with such hostility, degradation and exclusion made me very angry." The contradiction between text and caption represents the conflicting images Australia chooses to project to the rest of the world. Vexter has a social connection to graffiti, but finds it too boy-core and internalised. Miss Van also reacts to the masculinity she finds in the world of street art, and her work is from a female gaze. The last one is by another unknown. I Love You Page, Goodbye, Brisbane 2013. This is an example of graffiti rather than street art. That is, a reflection on its rudimentary technique but not its content. The content asks many complicated questions such as who is the author? And why do they tell Paige they love her, but then goodbye? Does Paige love the author? Was Paige meant to see the graffiti? What happened next?